ask you to please repeat or speak up. She's not being rude. She's trying to take minutes. You're welcome. All right. Just quickly start with introductions. I am Darren Lowndes. I'm with the Housing Consortium of the East Bay. And why don't we use this as the talking stick?
Okay. Oh, but we're not going to use it?
It's up to you. I mean,
Okay.
the
Sandy's not
speakers
over
are over there.
Oh, go ahead. Introduction. Would you like to introduce yourself? We're just not going to use the mic.
Okay. Linda Stevens, family member.
Laurel Sellers, Program Manager, Supported Living for Bay Area Support Services and Community Access. I'm Deanna Panko, family member.
Bill Felder, Ability Now.
Sarah DeSimano, San Francisco. Deborah Curl, family member.
Herb Hastings, RCB, Minus Rights, Advocate, Council, Facebook, and Main Street.
Lilian Ansari, family member.
Melanie Gonzalez, Regional Center.
Rick King, family member.
Judy Grable, family member with parents and new parents from San Jose. Alice Cantrell, family member.
Sarah Burgett Torres. Valerie McGrath, family member.
Jane Slaheed, parent.
William Rogers, District Attorney's Office, People Witness Unit.
Sherry Willis, at the Hurricane Prevention Officer with the Health Department.
Mike Vinton, Regional Center.
Lisa Kleinberg, Regional Center.
Elizabeth Ballard, Disability Rights California.
Craig Rose with Community Integrated Work Program.
Carol Fitzgerald, Matthew's mom.
Andrew Kim.
And I'm Debbie Fitzgerald.
Karen Curl, City Council.
Alex Strag, Sean First Meeting.
Chris Mullen, travel trainer, job coach, Department of Rehabilitation.
Michael Tuttle, animator, musician, writer, understands very late to this meeting.
Doug York, and here with the Teachers Explorer Film. Oh, and that is Chris.
I'm Chris, camera operator.
All right. Thanks, everybody. As well as thanks for squeezing in here. I'm glad we're all close and tight and friendly. Just wanted to move into the president's and coordinators reports. So, November's National Family Caregivers Month. Raise your hand if you are a family member. Raise your hand if you provide care. So, I think that's probably everybody in the room. Fantastic. It's a great time to recognize and honor the family caregivers across the country, and I'd also like to just recognize all of us, give everybody a big round of applause for everything we do on a day-to-day basis. I'd like to acknowledge and thank all the council committee chairs who often go unrecognized for their leadership. So briefly going to go through Bill Pelter, co-chair of the East Bay Employment Task Force. Karen Toto, who will be here shortly, the chair of the Health and Wellness Committee. Sarah Brigette, who is the chair of the membership committee, as well as helping us out with our minutes today. And then do a special recognition for Stephen Beard, who is not with us today. And I want to recognize his tenure as the co-chair of the East Bay Ledge Coalition. Also to announce that he's resigning from that position due to just time constraints. And again, recognizing Stephen for his great work. When we see him next time, please thank him for his service. And also, just so everyone knows, we're outreaching and recruiting the next co-chair for the EBLC to represent the Alameda County half of EBLC. Okay. And so one other thing that we'd like to do that the exec committee's been discussing is to form an ad hoc committee to develop a plan to launch the new council mission and vision statements that we've been working so hard on since this last summer. And in addition to that, let's develop a public service announcement for Developmental Disabilities Month in March. We're taking volunteers for that committee. We would love to also assign a chair, but what we'll do is first is if you could let Sandy know if you're interested in that committee, either by raising your hand today or following up with Sandy later. And then we'll look at that and see, and if someone's interested in being the chair as well, to just throw your hat in the ring. That work, we need to get started on that later this month or December, just so we make our March goals. So, any questions about that ad hoc committee?
May I add
Yes.
one thing? Film guys, this is going to be a project for you. I met with Hester briefly about this, but we just want to do a little PSA to get information about public service announcement, to get information about the council out. And I was hoping that the Board of Supervisors would do some sort of recognition for the council. It's been a while. I got the idea from another program that is not mandated to be funded, so it's always good to do these things. And it will be a good opportunity.
Okay.
Happy to help.
Thanks.
Great.
Any questions? Or you can raise your hand to ask a question without volunteering. So don't be afraid. All right, moving on. Please follow up with Sandy, and we will keep reminding you of this important work.
Where to start?
We also want to acknowledge and thank Beverly Wan for her service. Is Beverly here?
Yeah, right
Oh,
there.
thank you. Beverly, thanks so much for working with us. Beverly's taken a job at Alameda Alliance, and so this will be her last council meeting. So thank you very much for your service. And Sarah, you got a lot of work to do. Thank you. And last but not least, best wishes to you and your family for a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. I'm very thankful for all of you guys in this amazing community. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we have a lot going on. There's never a slow period, and I think you probably saw the announcement. We have a date for the Alameda County Transition Fair. It's going to be March 24th this year. We're very fortunate to have a lot of new transition case managers and transition supervisors involved now in the transition team, so we're very excited about it. At our next meeting, we are also fortunate to have Julia, the clinician at the Schreiber Center, and her supervisor, Wendy. They're going to do a little presentation about the Schreiber because there are so many new case managers. So if anybody can join us, that is November 30th from 3:30 to 5 at Regional Center. We just changed the date a little because of the holidays. So please feel free to join us. We will also start planning the transition fair workshops. And we have a college conference coming up on December 2nd. You have a registration form in your packets, and the information table is just right around the corner there. So there's some Spanish versions of that around the corner. And I just found out we're going to have a Tri-Valley Transition Night. We have all new staff for that. It's going to be on January 23rd from 5:30 to 8:30 at the Senior Center in Pleasant. We also have, and you'll see this in your packets to save the date, EBLC is going to have, our East Bay Legislative Coalition is going to have a legislative breakfast this year instead of a town hall, so we can more intimately talk with our legislators about the issues in our community. So this is invitation only because it is limited space, and we'll be getting the invitations out next month, I believe. And also, we're having an Autism Star Conference. That's also scheduled in March, on March 17th. So any questions about our upcoming events? We're going to be very busy.
Sandy, I couldn't hear the date of the legislative breakfast.
I'm sorry, it's February 2nd. We originally scheduled it in January on the Bay Area Caucus Day, and we were not going to have any state legislators here, so we switched it to February 2nd.
Okay, great. How's our number count right
Are we at quorum or not? I think we are.
now? One moment.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, before 2:15.
All right, great. We made quorums. Now we can have the approval of the October 2017 council minutes. Please turn in your packet to those minutes. Take a quick minute to review them.
I've already reviewed, so I'd like to make a motion.
All right, we have a motion.
And I didn't see anything about trying to develop mental health assessments for persons with developmental disabilities, and that there was a test study and looking for individuals to participate in the pilot.
We can add that. Thank you, Thalia.
And where was that? What part of?
Community
It's-
concern.
It was
Okay,
under
gotcha.
public comment, yeah.
Thank you.
It was left out of the minutes. We'll add that. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for picking that up. Does your motion still stand,
Yeah,
Herb?
I would make the motion with the adjustment.
All right. Any further comments or questions? And then I also need a second, sorry, got out of order. Got a second, Bill? Or did you want it? You guys fight over it.
Go ahead.
Laurel, thank you. Any further comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of October 2017, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? I abstain. The Boyds abstain, I abstain. I wasn't here. So. No one abstains. Did you catch that, Sarah? We're good? All right, thank you. All right. The minutes passed and are approved with the addition that Thalia brought up. Thank you very much. We are ahead of schedule. Are our presenters ready to roll?
Yes.
Okay.
So, let me just ask you, as family members and folks who provide services and supports for individuals with developmental disabilities or other needs, we go to a lot of conferences, right? A lot. We hear a lot of speakers. I went about 10 years ago to the Supported Life Conference. How many of you have been there? Awesome conference. They have wonderful speakers. And on the second day of that conference, you're kind of getting tired out. You've been sitting a lot. It's lunchtime. And they have the keynote speaker. And a lot of times those keynote speakers are, kind of drummed out by the chitter chatter at the tables. But in this particular instance, it was silent in the room. And everybody was paying attention to that speaker. And that speaker changed my life. It was from that point forward that I really understood what person-centered meant. And I'd been to trainings on person-centered thinking, and I'd been to the Toronto Institute with Jack Pierpoint and John O'Brien, some of the founders of person-centered thinking. But it took that moment for me to, maybe I was just ready, right, to acquire the information that was going to be life-changing for myself and many others that were in that room with me. His name was Michael Small, and he's one of the volunteers and the founder of the learning community, of which I am a part. I've been doing training for a few years now, but I've been living this way for almost 10 years. It changed my daughter's trajectory. She was on a trajectory of a downhill behavioral support need, high intense, level 4I or beyond home. She is now moving more independently. Things that matter to her are present in her life. And the people that support her know how to be person-centered. Because, of course, I've trained them, right? And it's my agency, so I can make them do it. Now, it requires a shift first, though. Before we can plan, we must have the thinking that is required to plan in a way and deliver services in a way that's person-centered. So before you can plan in a person-centered way, you really need to change your thinking, which is why it's called person-centered thinking planning. and not person-centered planning. We can teach all kinds of people to write great plans. But if the people who are touching the lives of our family members, our clients, our girlfriends, our boyfriends, if they're not thinking in a person-centered way, they're not going to deliver the plan with the intent that it should be delivered. So I like to think of person-centered thinking as the butterfly effect. Who's heard of the butterfly effect? Okay, it is a meteorological kind of thing, right? That if one butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the world, it can affect the weather all the way around on the other side of the world, of the globe. It really started with Fitch in the 1800s, though, where he said if you move one piece of sand, it will affect the whole of everything, because everything is dependent on that one piece of sand in it staying in its place. So what we want to do is shift the way people think so that they can deliver person-centered services, not just write great plans, because a lot of people have good paper already, but they don't have the lives that match the paper. That's what we want to see with person-centered planning. How many of you, in line with my butterfly thing, I have a cape at home that I usually wear when I do this part, but I came from Sacramento and forgot my cape. So how many of you are brand new to person-centered thinking? So this is kind of an introduction for you. So you're the little eggs attached to the back of the leaves, right? And you're going to grow and grow. And hopefully you're going to move on and not get eaten by a moth or some other critter. You're going to turn into a caterpillar. And the caterpillar, with its many legs, is really kind of out learning, getting more information about person-centered planning and thinking so that they can begin to acquire the skills that they need to be able to do that, to be able to deliver services in that way. Do you know what caterpillar really means?
Like a butterfly.
It turns into a butterfly, exactly. But it comes from the French word hairy cat. And when I told this story, the last thing I did, I said hairy legs, which really got I'm like, oh my God. So, hairy cat, in case you saw me last time. And then you'll turn into a chrysalis, where maybe you're beginning to really apply those person-centered practices in your life, in someone's life. My mother, I try to apply these principles in her life. She uses services. She's in skilled nursing. Now, they're exempt from HCBS waiver, bummer. But I'm working on it, okay? I'm working on that system. And then, so who in the room is the caterpillar? You're out there learning, you're pulling information, you're gathering it. Raise your hand if you're really out there learning. And then who is applying the principles? Okay, I see some hands, good. And then who is the butterflies that are out there creating effect? How many of you, now Irene's been to the 2-day training, so I know she knows how to do that, and I know she's working it. So we want to turn you all into butterflies, okay? We want to get you out there talking about person-centered thinking and planning so that people get the lives they want. And the people that really need this are the people who are at risk of losing positive control or have lost positive control over their life. And they are just going through life with a plan that somebody else created with none of their input. And that happens a lot. And even if somebody has a plan, they may still just be walking through life based on what this particular group home or supported living service model or day service, what they say, this is how we do it. We're still seeing that a lot. We have the benefit of the HCBS waiver, right? How many of you know about that? Okay, and that's going to require that everyone have a person-centered plan, right? So we all kind of have to get on board with this. So we have the benefit of creating butterflies here with support from the feds. How about that? But there's only a little bit of money to do that. So it's going to require a lot of inspiration. And that'll happen when you begin to implement these practices and see change in people. So this is the underlying intent of person-centered thinking. It underlies and guides respectful listening, leading to actions that result in people who, maybe I should just have that over here. They have positive control over their life. They're contributing to the plan. They're the essential part of creating that plan. It's their input that matters most. And the other part about being person-centered is that they're a valued member in their community. So people see them as bringing something to the community, not just being present. They're participants in their community. And I'm proud to say that's my daughter. Go back one. That's my cute little daughter who used to deliver flowers. Now, this is how networks work and how being out in the community and being valued makes a difference. She's delivering flowers to Our Lady of Fatima, which is a skilled nursing facility. This was many years ago. Go forward. My mother's living there now. And they all knew who she was. Oh, you're the girl that used to bring flowers. So that little piece of being valued was connected 6, 7 years later by being present and contributing, not just hanging out, right? Not just lingering. They need to have a web of supports. A lot of people only have services and no community supports. We need to enhance that. We need to grow that. So, how many of you think this looks familiar? Okay? So what's your choice? Okay? This is what we want to change. This is what we want to change. We want to make it their choice and their choices. So even within one choice, they have choices about that choice. And they can change their mind. How many of you change your mind in the morning when you get up sometimes and you think, well, I was going to wear that, but I'm not feeling it? Now, if somebody who uses services is in a group setting or a group home, residential care, and the staff helped them set their clothes out the night before, and they got up in the morning, and they go, I'm not feeling that outfit. What do you think's going to happen?
Staff is not communicating with the client.
Huh?
The staff is not communicating with the client. I'm trying to read that what that says there. I don't know what it says on that thing there.
It says, come on, you got plenty to choose from. So what's your choice? And all the signs say, our way, our way, our way. So there's 9 signs that say our way and none that say your way. Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Good. All right. So what do you think's going to happen when they don't want to wear that outfit they set out the night before?
They're going to end up having an issue with the staff, and then there's going to be all kinds of situations of eventual incident reports. Case managers are going to get involved, and it's really just going to escalate.
Thank you. It's a spiral of unhappiness, right?
Is the nursing homes going by the person living their choices, or are they going by the right that you're talking about?
They're the nursing homes mostly go by what I'm talking about, sadly. But there's some that are doing better work. So probably the person's going to end up with a behavior plan. If this happens too many times, they change their mind too many times. They're uncooperative. Now, if your husband or your spouse or your partner you're living with, and they set out their clothes the night before, and you go, "Oh, honey, that is hot. You're gonna steal it in the morning." And they go, "I'm just not feeling that tie. That skirt makes me look fat. My hair's not working, and so that outfit won't work with this hair." So, you change your mind all the time, but you don't say to your partner, "I told you ought to be wearing that tie because that tie looks the best." That's when we start fixing people instead of supporting them. Okay, so we're looking at supporting people, not fixing people, when we're looking at person-centered planning and thinking. So it is, as I've said many times, because I think it's important and worth repeating, person-centered thinking has to occur to be able to put those practices in place. So here's a trajectory. So in this arrow, we started out here mostly in the 50s, 40s, even the 60s and the 70s, right? I'm a child of the, I'm not going to say. But I remember never seeing children at school or in the community with any kind of developmental disability. And I also remember visiting a state hospital when I was 15 with a girlfriend. And that memory will never leave me. Her brother was there. We didn't even know she had a brother. And so in the service life, as we call it, they looked at what was important for people. They're being fed, they're being clothed, they're being cleaned. What else could they want, right? Their basic needs were being cared for, everything that was important for them. They were getting their medication. They were getting their teeth brushed, maybe. Maybe they were sharing the toothbrush among the 50, but they were getting their teeth brushed, right? But there was no organized effort to look at what was important to that person. I mean, if you just didn't have anything about important to in your life, it would be pretty dull. Be hard to want to get up in the morning, right? So we move forward to this center line, this dotted line, where we're looking at a good paid life. It's not a bad place to be. So you've got important to and important for are being addressed, but the closest people in your life are paid, or they're your family. You don't really have a wide community of other folks who want to be present in your life. So there are a few real connections that make you feel like a valued part of the community. This is where the majority of our folks are. This is the average, the national average, not just in California. And as you move forward to a community life, which is where every human being should be, and that trajectory is going to look at building relationships in the community, the opportunities for employment, to have the life you want instead of the life that's being imposed on you. And you have an active circle of support. So it's not just the paid people and family members, but there are others who want to be involved in looking at your planning and in making sure that that is happening. So you've already heard who I am. Go ahead. So there's different ways of doing person-centered planning. So there's maps and paths, and I've tried all of them. But what maps and paths look at, and besides, that one up at the top, the path, that's kind of how my brain feels most of the time, kind of scrambled, and there's this, that's how I take notes. I'm never sure how I'm going to interpret them later, but that for me was overwhelming, and it could be for a lot of people. But for a lot of people who are graphically minded, it's a great tool. Maps is another one, which is another great tool. So none of these is better than the other. It's just finding the tool that works for you. Maps and paths, however, both rely on the thought that there are people already in a wider circle who are going to help to make these things happen. Okay, so there has to be generally an established circle of people who are going to make this plan happen. Oops, back one. That's okay. Then there's essential life planning, there's futures planning, there's all kinds of tools out there. So you can look at all of those. There's now life course tools that can be interwoven. They have a great website, lifecoursetools.org. I encourage you to look at that. We're actually looking at weaving in some of those tools into the person-centered thinking planning trainings. And then there's the essential life plan. And that's where I landed. I landed using the essential life plans because I think that they give more content. They don't make assumptions that there's an active circle of support. So they give instruction on how someone should be supported. And we'll talk more about that later. Okay, so we'll keep going. These are the 5 elements that should be present when you're doing person-centered planning. The person we're all talking about needs to be the center of the process, not just at the meeting. Families and friends should be brought into the fold because the way that my daughter is seen by her friend's mother or other supporters is very different than how I see my daughter. You know, my professional people see me at work very differently than my own mother sees me. It's true for all of us. If we're a parent or a family member, we're going to see a different side of that person that these other folks may not see. And we want to gather all that information. We don't want just a parent perspective because we're going to miss out on information of things that have worked for the person, that they've tried in the community. Then we can learn more about our sons and daughters as family members, and as providers, we can learn a lot from the family members as well about history and what we've done and what has worked and how can you use this. So it's an exchange. It's a taking from, you know, 2 laundry baskets and putting it in the dish or in the washing machine and having it all mixed up together and throwing it in the dryer. It comes out all fluffed and folded and ironed. That's my dream. And it really reflects capacities. We are in and I'm singing to the choir, I know that. But I want you to think about your resume. Last time you wrote a resume or your LinkedIn profile. Does it list all the negative things about you? I don't like to do dishes at night. I wait till I'm out of jeans before I do laundry. You know, we don't list any of that stuff when we're trying to introduce ourselves to others. But when we're introducing somebody who uses services, we're introducing them with their deficit. It's still the deficit model. So I'm going to show you how to do a quick little tool and skill that you can put together that is a positive introduction of someone. It doesn't mean you ignore the negatives or you don't get supports around those, but we should always be introducing people in a positive way, right? You don't do it for yourself. Why should we do that to people who use services? You can read the rest of those, and they're in your handouts. I'm not going to read every slide because that would be like triple play where I'm reading, you're looking, you got the handout, and I'm going to put you to sleep. So I don't want anyone having presentation whiplash. You all know what that is, right? So you're sitting there, you're trying to listen, and all of a sudden you go, and you wonder, did anyone see me? Okay. All right, so there's 3 sets of skills that we teach in the basic introduction to person-centered thinking and planning. There are sets of skills that are management skills that we're going to use to help identify what people's roles are, how to do working with the folks that are supporting our people. Okay, so a lot of different skills, matching tools for recruiting and hiring and looking at, is this a good person that is going to support my son or daughter client in this role? Then we have everyday learning skills. And an everyday learning skill means is we are continuously learning about this individual every day that we work with them, right? We're seeing something new. We're seeing something that's going on. It gives us the documents and the skill to capture that information in a way that makes it useful to others. And, whoops, one more. And then we have discovery and listening skills. These are critical in trying to tease out the information that's going to have impact in the plan and in the thinking of how people are supported. So we use a variety of different exercises in the trainings to help people learn how to use those skills. So I could give you a piece of paper and you could look at it and go, well, I think I can figure out how to use this. But it might be doing a disservice to the supporter, or to the supporter and the supportee. Because if people aren't taught how to use it, it becomes essentially worthless information. We went to the store, you know, you get notes like, had a great day. Yeah, thank you. Glad you had a great day, but what did you learn today that we can share with others? Because if we're not documenting information and putting it into the plan and providing instructions to supporters, who is going to retrain people day by day? Who is going to train the new people that come into that individual's life? Who is it? Who trains them? The person. They are training experts. They have trained many people what to do and what not to do, except we haven't documented it for the next team. So it's really critical that we begin documenting in a person-centered way that provides us with information that's going to change that person's life for the better. Or they're going to be suffering and training over and over all their lives. How exhausting. So we take those skills, all three of those skills, and that's what goes into the person-centered plan. We look at those documents, we look at that learning, we compile it in a way that is useful to others in supporting that person in the way they wish to be supported. So this is a one-page description, and it is full of information. And I did this for DDS. I went up to State Council on Developmental Disabilities, and I wanted to model how I could create a description of somebody with never having met that person through discussion, through learning about the person, through teasing out the many layers of information that you need to get through by asking the right questions. And so this plan, they're not usually that busy. You know, I think that's got way too much information, but I was trying to demonstrate in 60 minutes. I had one phone call with this mother, and in 60 minutes I was able to gather all of this information without having met him. And you know, people say things like, well, she likes soft foods. She does well on soft foods. So I might say, well, okay, so tell me more about that. Are there soft foods she doesn't like? Because if in the plan it says only like soft foods and you hate rice pudding, and I give you rice pudding at dinner every night because you like soft foods and that was cheap and on sale at Costco, are you going to be happy? And if you don't have the ability to communicate that yourself, you need that information. You need that depth of information. Okay, so details matter. So 3 components in looking at a one-page description, and that's what we call it. It's like the resume, right? But it also comes with instructions to supporters. So we're going to look at what people like and admire about the person. Might be your synopsis, in your resume. Here's what I've been told. You know, I'm driven, I'm a hard worker, you've got this whole list of things that describes you to communicate to people who don't know you yet what your strengths are. Why do other people like being around you? Then what is most important to them? It could be, you know, for my daughter, it's American Girl dolls. She's 33. American Girl dolls are her favorite thing right now. And those things change. So these have to be living documents, right? Because a few months ago it was baby dolls. So you have to keep building upon this so it stays current. We update this quarterly, or if anything major changes. So how we learn about what's most important to someone is we do an exercise called Good Day, Bad Day. What does it take for somebody to have a really good day? What does the best day look like? You know, for my daughter, it's going to the flagship store in Los Angeles, American Girl doll store, and having lunch there and leaving with a doll. That's the best possible day for her. We can't do that every day, right? So we're not talking about everything they want to do and you have to do it every day. We're talking about what's important to them. You know, it's important to me to do certain things, but I don't expect to be able to do them every day. So we have balance in our lives that needs to occur. Then, what do good supports look like for this person? And we're going to also take information out of that good day, bad day exercise and say, this is what we need to avoid. If you're going to change the plan, we need to start preparing our person in advance for that at least 2 hours, because it's going to take them 2 hours to get their head wrapped around that. That is important information to know. If staff changes, we need to let them know in advance, because if somebody shows up that I didn't expect, and I'm a person that has difficulty controlling my reaction, I might just go, Linda comes in and says, hey, I'm here today instead of Laurel. And I just go, because I didn't expect you. You're not supposed to be here at this time. We have to help people with those transitions in advance. We need to share that information. This guy walks in and just sees me trying to punch Linda in the face, right? He's like, who is this woman? Okay, so we want to share what best supports look like on that one-page description. So here's what like and admire might look like. Or it might be a paragraph of, you know, this person is compassionate, has a smile for everyone when they walk in the room, will walk up and introduce themselves so everyone feels welcomed. So you can do this in whatever way works for you. There's even these online Wordles that you can do. One's a Disney figure, Mickey Mouse head. And so you can put it into whatever the person likes. Because remember, this is about the person. They should have a part in developing this. So how do we discover what's important to people? We ask. We look at what lights them up. So, when my daughter goes into the Disney store, she goes right for the dolls, right for the princess dolls and the headbands of princesses. So we know one of her favorite things is Disney princesses. So we get a list of behaviorally either showing us what's important to them or asking them, what's important to you? There's a lot of people who can just tell us, right? Some people might say, you don't have to make a list, just ask my son. He'll tell you what's important to him. And he'll tell you how he needs to be supported. He just needs someone who will honor it instead of trying to talk him out of it. Okay? So, go back one more time, I'm sorry. So these are the 5 components of how we discover what's important to people. They make you feel fulfilled, satisfied, happy, all of these 5 components. So when you're looking at important 2, these are the components that you're going to look for. Content and comforted. Those are really important, right? We all need comfort at times. We need to know what that looks like for somebody that we're supporting when they need that. And here's the sinker. You've got to pay attention to behavior over words, because we have taught people to be compliant. Have we not? Okay? We need to help people have a voice. So we're going to start paying attention to their behavior. It's kind of like saying, yes, you know. However, I learned something when I was doing this training and giving this example. It's important for us also to learn about their culture. Because I learned that the Indian culture kind of does a head back and forth bob for yes. And so we all have so much to learn. So you may be supporting somebody from the Indian culture, and you're asking them a direct question, and they're doing this, and you think they're saying no. And so you go, you know, you really have to do this. Well, how many times can I shake my head? Yes. Right? And you're getting frustrated because they keep shaking their head what you think is no. So learning those things about the individual is critical, and documenting it for the next set of people who are coming into this person's life.
I have a question.
Yes,
Most people think it, yes means this way,
that's correct.
but where do they think it this way?
Well, in some cultures, they do it a little bit differently, and it looks like a no to us who grew up in the United States, because we all do this for yes, right? And they may have grown up in the United States, but their parents didn't grow up in the United States. So they have to look at the culture of the family in where the person has lived all their lives.
That's where I don't know the other culture in every country at all.
I don't either. That's why we have to ask people, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we're going to look at important 4, and that is issues of safety and health and being a valued member of the community. So remember, we talked about being not just there, but actually present, active, valued for your contributions. So we want to look at not just health and safety in the sense of our physical health and safety, but our emotional health and safety. Are we free from fear? How many of you know what a T-log is? Okay, so the providers know what a T-log is. Can you tell us what it just, okay, she didn't take the bite. So if Sarah can tell us what a T-log is.
T-log is it's a program used by a system called TheraP, and a TheraP is an online case noting and service plan. It's electronic documentation. So a T-log is, at least at Toolworks, we use them to just document what happened during each shift, and we like to have our clients write them with staff.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. The reason I bring that up is some agencies use the T-log to describe behaviors that are undesirable. And I have had clients tell me that they've been threatened with a T-log if they don't cooperate.
I don't think TheraP would be very happy to hear that.
Yeah. So this is happening in our community now. It's still happening. Coercion sadly exists. And we need to look at that. We need to change that. And we need to change the culture of using coercion and manipulation. Now, there's using things together, like important 2 and important 4, to get something done that's important for their health or safety. And I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. I have no sense of timing when I'm doing these things. So who can help me with time? Where am I at? It's 10:30. Okay, good. All right.
You've got time.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So I'm going to share with you now the core concepts of person-centered thinking. Okay, think of the apple core. Whenever you're trying to think, what did she say was that core concept of person-centered thinking, think of this apple core. Okay, and on one side, you're going to have important to, it's a staged one, thank you. So it's important to, right? The other side is important for. So just think of the apple core with a 2 and a 4 on each side. What's important to, what's important for. Those are the key concepts, the really important part of our learning. Now, how many of you get a paycheck for going to work? Okay. How many of you would keep going to work for your full-time job without that paycheck? Okay. So, why do you go to work?
To make money,
Yeah, because why do you want money?
to survive on.
It's important to you, right?
It's to survive on.
That's right. So it's important to you to have food and shelter. It's important for you also, right?
Yeah.
But it's important to you to have that money to do what you need to do, right? It's important to you to have health insurance or whatever else comes with your job. Maybe it's the status that your job provides that's important to you. So there's many different reasons that people go to work. Is it important for you to go to work? Maybe because you want that paycheck, right? Or you need that paycheck, or you're satisfied and your job gives you a reward. That's the important to part. So we go to work because it's important to us. We get a paycheck, or we get some other reward from doing that work. So there's a hook, because it's also important for us, right? We need to have those jobs. So let's see if I can put this into another kind of model. So I've mentioned my daughter, who I have permission from her mother and her to talk about. So don't want you to think I'm telling all the family secrets. She really loves to get a Diet Coke. And this is just the simplest model I can think of to share. She has no sense of time. I wonder where she got that, because I am totally lost in time when I'm talking. We use what's important to her when we need her to get out the door on time for a dentist appointment or a doctor appointment or some other timed event, because otherwise time doesn't exist. And so we go, hey, there's an ARCO station right across the street. Why don't we stop and get a Diet Coke on our way to the dentist? She gathers her things and she's out the door. And you make it to your appointment on time, because there's only so many things to shop for at ARCO, right? Don't take her to Target, because then she's going to miss her appointment. So you have to know all that to get her to go somewhere on time, right? Is it useful information to share with somebody who is filling in? Oh yeah, right? Because otherwise they're like, oh, I'm sorry, but we missed the appointment. And you're thinking, oh, I'm still going to have to pay the $200 for the cleaning even though you missed the appointment. Okay, so it is really, really helpful for us to document this and get it in a way that people can use. We're going to balance the trade-offs. Go ahead, keep going. So that's okay, we're going right into that again anyway. So we've got a balance, important to and important for. How many of you love doing dishes? Yeah, pull that hand back down, or I'll be having you come to my house. Okay, but how many of you do dishes because you have visitors coming over? Yeah, it's a trade-off. It's important to me that my visitors don't think I'm a slob, right? So I'm going to do the dishes before they come, even though I probably wouldn't have loaded the dishwasher till later in the evening or the next day. So it's a trade-off. There's a balance. We make choices all the time. So person-centered planning is not always choice, 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 right? It's also not always You got to do this because it's important for you. This is important for you. You've got to get up, even though you don't want to get up in the morning, you need to get up, exercise before you have your breakfast so it increases your metabolism. And then we're going to have you shower and get your teeth done, and we're going to help you pick out some clothes. That's the day for a lot of our folks. That might be the day for you. It's not my style, but you know, that we have to honor those preferences for people. Okay, so if it's all about important for, it's not a very rewarding life, is it? Important too is the parent's worst nightmare, right? You're going to spoil them, or the behavior is nightmare. They get everything they want to avoid conflict, blah, 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 blah. So we need to have balance. We want to go for the balance of important to and important for. So when you earn enough money by doing these chores, we'll be able to go to the American Girl doll store again. Is she highly motivated now? Yeah, but it has to be attainable, right? It has to be in a time frame that works for her.
Get those rocks to balance correctly.
I know, that's hard work, isn't it? Balance is tough work. It's tough work. Okay. So one of the, I'm going to show you, give you just a quick peek of some of the tools that we use that come with learning the skills and how to use them. And this is probably the most used skill that we have, and it's called the 4+1. And the 4+1 looks at what have we tried, what have we learned, what are we pleased about, and what are we concerned about. And you always want to have a topic for this. This can be used in meetings. This is a model taken from, I think it was Xerox. So, and it was adapted for the learning community to do data collection. So let's say the problem is that the individual who's being supported will not get up in the morning. And then the bus comes to pick them up. They're not ready. They leave without them. Now what do we do, right? So we've got to work on finding something that's going to work for this individual to want to get up in the morning. So we'd look at what have we tried, because we don't want to repeat things that we've tried and they haven't worked. Okay, what did we learn about what we tried? What are we pleased about? And what are we still concerned about? And then the +1 part is what are we going to do next? So we know this didn't work. We saw this worked well. We want to do more of that. Let's incentivize that, maybe for the staff, maybe for the individual. But we're going to really look at every area and break it down in a team setting. And the nice part about technology these days is there's I guess it's an app. It's an online service called groupmap.com. And so when I'm doing this planning and I can't get everyone in the same room, I send the group map out to contributors. So her sisters who live, you know, not really close to us to get information. Or if I'm doing this for another individual and I don't know all their people, I can give this link to the parent or the provider and say, have everyone who cares about this individual contribute their thoughts about this. And then you can compile it. And you've got really good data to bring together. Remember that washing machine model? We're putting it all together. It's going to come out laundered and ironed and all of that wonderful stuff. So, okay, rituals and routines. We all have them. Every single human being, animals, all mammals have rituals and routines, right? We have them around every area of our life. We have them around holidays. How many of you think your birthday is a national holiday? Okay? Or that you should celebrate at least a week? Okay? We do birthday months, because we have 3 family birthdays in 1 month, and the whole month is birthday month, and we have decorations the whole month. And so it's August, by the way, in case my address is. We have mourning rituals. We have grieving rituals. Every culture does it differently. We need to honor what has been done in that person's life over the course of their lifetime. And now, in your service, how do we support them around that? I want you to take any piece of paper, maybe this piece of paper, okay, the one that has some of the principles about person-centered planning. And on the back of that, I want you to think about the last time you had a really bad cold. You woke up, your throat is sore and scratchy, you're kind of achy, got a fever, maybe it's the flu, you don't know, you just feel like crap. You just don't want to get out of bed, you want somebody to take care of you or leave you alone. I want you to write down what comfort looks like to you when you are getting into that sick state. Okay, so everybody should be writing. What does that look like to you? What is it that you want specifically from your supporters? If you can't write, maybe somebody can help you write it down. So you woke up with a really scratchy throat, you're aching, you got fever, your nose is running. What comforts you when you feel that way? You have to participate because there's a next step to this, and your partner's going to need your help with it, okay? So I want everything. I need a box of tissue in bed with me. I need a warm, soft blanket. I need somebody to bring me tea. But I don't want lemon in my tea. I don't care if it helps a sore throat. And I hate honey, so don't put honey in my tea. I want every little detail about what you need when you feel that lousy. Maybe you just want a latte, not tea, right? Maybe you're not a tea drinker. Maybe you want an electric blanket, or maybe that's too hot for you. You want chicken soup. You're a vegetarian. You don't want chicken soup. You're gluten-free. I want every detail of what looks like comfort to you when you're sick. You're an Advil taker, not a Tylenol user.
Been a while since I feel sick.
Good.
I don't know.
What do you like when you're feeling sick?
Just want to sleep.
Ah, you just want to sleep. So if somebody came and bugged you with tea, you'd be going, get out of here? Would it bother you?
Yeah, but this, I couldn't write this down because I don't have a pen and I don't know what page it's on.
Sarah, just right on the back of this.
Oh, that one?
Do you have a pen? Does somebody have a pen for Sarah? Oh, great. Yep, this is a good time if you've finished writing to get a little snack or water, whatever you need. Take care of yourself. When you finish your list, your exhaustive list, I want you to stand up if you're able, or raise your hand if you're unable to stand. Okay?
Too big. Bill, you going to go through?
No, I'm good, I'm just standing up.
You can stand up here with me, Sarah. It's Sarah, right?
Yeah, and her name is
Trudy.
Trudy, yeah.
Yeah. It's not a very common name, is it?
You have a mother who's in a nursing,
I do.
and your daughter is
In
more
supported living.
supported living. I was thinking your mother, they also needs the same needs, expression needs like your daughter would.
Yep, exactly. But my mother actually needs more help than my daughter now. Yeah, because she has something called Parkinson's disease.
But she can speak up, to go through.
She
all
can speak up for sure. She has no trouble speaking up. It's standing up she has trouble with.
It's getting her needs met, like supports.
That's
picking
right.
out her-
She has one of those one-page descriptions. Okay. That's a good indicator to me that most of you are done. So I want you to find someone at your table who was another person that made a list, and I want you to trade lists with them. You can sit back down. And I want you to look at your new kind of comfort when you're sick. This is what you're going to get. So you've traded with somebody else at your table or in your row. This is how you will be comforted in the future when you're sick. How does that look to you?
Hot and sour soup, that's my cold remedy. Good. I do. Adjustable bed, just move my feet, you know.
Sarah just wants to sleep. She wants no one to bother her. It does.
Yeah. Not having to worry about work stuff, yeah.
It's okay. If you can see my hand, raise yours. If you can see my hand, raise yours. All right, I'm just trying to bring you all back to center again. I want you to share with me and the others, what did it feel like to have somebody else's sick and comfort routine imposed upon you?
Very different from my own.
Very
It
different.
looks lovely. It looks lovely, and if I had thought about it, longer, I probably would have added many.
You might add to your list. Okay, all right. What other feelings did you have when you read somebody else's list and you thought, next time, this is what it's going to look like for me? How did that feel? What did it look like for you?
I wasn't satisfied completely because it's not my choice.
Okay, thank you.
Jealousy. She has an adjustable bed. I would love to have an adjustable bed.
So Linda's going to move in with Laurel. Okay. What else? What were the other feelings you had?
I guess I'll have to put up with this.
I'll have to put up with this. Was anybody feeling resistant? Like, oh no, I can't eat that when I'm sick. Okay. How many of you were like almost like going like, that's disgusting. I could not do that. Okay, so, but we do that to people that we support all the time, don't we? We impose what we think should work for them because it works for us instead of discovering what really works for them. And that will help them get through this illness comfortably. And then we wonder why they get mad, right? I'm doing everything I know to do. This always works with my kids. Or it worked for me. And then they get a behavior plan because they were sick and their needs weren't met in the way that works for them. I really, and this is my own personal thought, I think 80% of the people who get level 4 eye services, we've created that. Our system has created that by not responding to their communication and not discovering what their needs and preferences are and not providing that for them. So their behavior is the only way they have to communicate, to say, this is not working for me. You need to do something else. And so I think that we have a huge responsibility in moving people into the community and being able to support them in the way that is going to work for them so that they can be full members of the community. And I'm not saying this is absolute, but I do believe that, you know, for my experience in seeing people that were on that trajectory of 4 eyes and beyond, I've seen that go flat. I've seen that go toward independence. And I've seen way too many stories and heard way too many stories to believe that people don't have the ability to have improved lives if we're doing person-centered services. So this is another skill that we teach, and this is called the donut. And the donut really looks at core responsibilities. So the core responsibility is what you are paid to do as a provider. So if you're in the business of delivering services, or you're in the healthcare business, and maybe sometimes in the parenting business or adult SIB business, you have core responsibilities. Okay, so we need to tease those out. We need to figure out what are the core responsibilities that someone has so that they're clear about their role. Because we get, you know, that threatening with the T-bill, not in the role, not in the job description, right? Okay, your core responsibility is to help this person get supports that are going to help them have a better life. That's what services are all about, right? So then we look at using creativity and judgment and how to have that happen. I heard Nathan Ori, and Irene and I are like groupies for Nathan. He's a behavior guy from British Columbia. And he said, does every approach have to be the exact same approach to get the outcome? Does everyone need to use the same approach? I love seeing this no, because as long as you get the outcome and it was done in a respectful way, it doesn't matter how you did it. And because people have different relationships with different people, they may have a way of getting it done like just saying it. All they have to do is say it and it's done. And other people have to sing and dance to get it done, right? So, or take them to Arco for a Diet Coke. You know, it just depends on the person and their relationship. So judgment and creativity. And then what is not our paid responsibility? So that people have a clear idea and sense of what their role is in this person's life. Is it my job to tell you not to buy that orange even though you want it, but I think you should have an apple? Is that my job?
No, not your job.
Exactly. Right. Sarah's got this.
It's up to the person with what they want.
Exactly. So one of the other things that we use is the relationship map. And we use this in order to find out who's in the person's life. A lot of times people don't have words to tell us what it is that they find that's important to them or what good supports look like for them. So we need to talk to other people. We need to pay attention to their behavior, and we need to talk to other people to get a good round description of what's important to someone and how to support them and what they like and admire about them, most importantly. So we've got 4 quadrants in this circles. We've got the person in the center. You've probably seen things like this before. Around the center, the blue center, is the people that are closest to the person. Okay, and I don't mean in relationship of, you know, my brother and my sister I'm close to. I might be closer to my aunt or my cousin. And so we want the people that they have the closest emotional relationship with those individuals, okay? And the outer circle are other people who support us. The hitch is you can only put people in one space. So if someone is paid to support you and that's their job, they're going to either go on the left or the right in one of those quadrants. Okay, they either support you at home or at work, or they support you, at other places. Down below, friends and non-paid relationships. So you might have an employee who feels like a friend, but they're paid. They don't go in the friend category, which is at the top. They go in the paid category. It's important for us to get a good visual of who is in this individual's life so we know where to gather information. Step further, you need to ask people that you're going to gather that information from about the nature of their relationship. So I might say to Linda, what do you like and admire about Laurel?
I love her jacket.
Oh, you love her jacket. I do too. Do you guys have fun together when you come to these meetings? She said, do we? Now, would I want to pay attention to what she has to say about Laura when she says, do we have fun? Maybe not so much, right?
Collaboration.
Collaboration. Okay, but I'm looking for relationship because it's the people that have the relationship with this person that's positive, that's valued. They're the ones I want to listen to. Right? People who have opinions but don't have relationship, I might not want to listen to them so much when I'm creating the plan. This is an example of a real one-page description. You might recognize her. This was a rude awakening for me, okay? There's nothing about her without her. She sees all the plans. She hijacks things from my house all the time. I have to have multiple copies because anything that has her picture or her name on it, she takes it. It's about her, she takes it. She can have as many copies of that as she wants, and I just print a next one because this is about her, right? So up at the top, we've got all of our family in the closeness of which they appear to her, and she feels that. At the bottom, we've got her friends and other unpaid relationships. To the left, we've got day and work services, and to the right, we've got home and other community paid supports. Do you notice anything about this list?
Are you on the top?
I am on the top. I'm the closest to her.
Where's her dad?
How do I know that? Because she calls me all the time and wants to be with me all the time. That's how I know. Her dad's right above me. We should have been side by side, right? Okay, so what do you notice about this inner circle? Look to the right.
A lot of it's all scratched out.
Yes, some people are scratched out. So what did I learn from that?
That those people are not her friend anymore?
You thought they were, but they're not.
Exactly. So this is why we have to get input from the people. And if they can't communicate and maybe they're too shy to say, I don't really like that person, we give them their map and say, circle the people that you really like. I stumbled upon this. I stumbled upon it. It was like I was thinking, oh no, what am I going to do? Because two of those people were primary staff. And I thought, oh, I'm in trouble because I was doing supported living and her day services were through supported living, and the one lady crossed out was Monday through Friday, the majority of the day. And I thought, okay, well, let me start with the other person. I said, because what made sense to me was the other person had been on leave taking care of a family member in hospice. So I just asked her questions. I said, Norma's not been around lately. Could that be why you crossed her off? She said, yes. And I said, okay. I said, when she's ready to come back to work, would you like to have her come back and work with you again? She said, yes. And I went, whew. night shift covered, right? The other person, I said, you know, does that person hurt you? Or is she mean? Does she yell at you? And she said no to all of those questions. So then I got down to thinking, okay, use my person-centered skills here. Do you enjoy spending time with her? The answer was no. And I said, okay, then we'll make a change, but it's going to take time. I already knew she wasn't being hurt. She wasn't mean. It just wasn't her favorite person. It just wasn't a good match, even though she could sing every princess song from every Disney movie as an artist, okay? It wasn't a good fit. So we looked at day services, and she's now very happy in a day service. And this gal was matched to a younger child who had needs, and it was a beautiful switch. So this can be an incredible tool for finding out details. You might notice at the very top somebody else was crossed off. Just the name, not the description. Charlie, mom's boyfriend, crossed off. I said, you're right. He feels like family to me, but he's not family to you. And so he came off as well. So we can learn so much by letting people have at their plans and marking them up. And then we talked about that matching support. So we do an exercise around how do you do good matching for people? So how would we do that? Any thoughts? The right kind of energy. Finding out what their interests are. So maybe you've got somebody who loves music, especially guitar, and they're just, you know, you can advertise for a guitar player. Play guitar at work while you support somebody who has needs to be in the community in a positive way. Okay? Do you love to play board games? We've got the job for you. My daughter's is, you must have a CD player in your car. Because she's listening to Let It Go the whole time. The same song over and over and over, right? You have to be okay with that. And so you can recruit people based on common interests or tolerance. You know, she has one staff member, this guy here, who as soon as they release the Disney on Ice tickets, he's got an email to me saying, could you transfer the money to my account? I've ordered the tickets. It's not, should I take her? It's, I've ordered the tickets. She loves spending time with him. And he loves going. And she goes with her boyfriend and a girlfriend, and he takes them. This is the best match ever. So, and who knew, right?
Giants fan.
He is a Giants fan. Huge. That was Halloween. So she's in a Halloween costume. She doesn't always wear costumes, but she does a fair amount of the time she does, like most of October. Go ahead. We're good with that. We don't care. So good day, bad day, I mentioned that. So you're going to make a list of what does a bad day look like for this person? Why do we want to know what a bad day looks like? To avoid it, exactly. Yeah, we don't want to put that person in the situation that's going to cause them to have a bad day, because then who else is going to have a bad day? The support team, but most importantly the person, because they can't get away. This other person can just walk off the job and say, yeah, I need you to come because I'm out of here. We don't want that happening to our people. So being able to have this information in advance can make an incredible and wonderful difference for them. What does a good day look like? We want to provide more of that. We want people to have more good days, right? And so we do exercises around this to help people to discover how to do this with folks, how to get this information. So really you become like an FBI agent. You are out there to discover what you can about the person from as many people that you can who care about the person, to provide them with the life that they want to live. So you're really like, who are those two on the boat? Lewis and Clark, man, you are out there with your oars, you're asking questions, you're teasing out information. You are discoverers. And in that, you're going to change lives. So there's always a next step to every one of these skills. Okay? It's not just, okay, so now we know this information, we need to put this in the plan. It needs to go in the plan, it needs to be clear, direct, concise, so that people will actually read it. If it's so busy like that first one I showed you, that needs to be in like 3 different one-page descriptions so that people will actually look at that. Okay, so here's a learning log. This is another exercise that we do where we're collecting data. We teach people how to use this to collect the data, and then again, what do we need to keep doing or do differently? So it's an ongoing learning if you're doing person-centered planning and processes. We already did this exercise. It's the, what to do when someone's sick. What to do when somebody has had a loss. How do we help people through processes, and how do we help maintain their rituals that really make a difference in their lives? Communication chart. All of these are wonderful skills, but you need to learn how to use them. And so these you can get on the internet. You can download them. If you can go to a training, it's a wonderful experience. But there's a lot of videos online. I want you to write down Michael Smull, S-M-U-L-L. And you can go to YouTube and watch a lot of videos on how to use these skills and tools so that you can begin using them now. You don't have to wait till the next training. You can always come to a training later and tweak how you've been using it if you need to, but I listen to these videos all the time. And, I feel like you can't learn enough. I feel like a sponge where, I just can't get enough, and I want it reinforced, and I want to be reminded on how to do it correctly. Go ahead. So when you're doing a one-page description, which is the one that I showed you, we want to make sure that it's detailed. It has detail. Don't go to 76 gas stations, go to Arco, because, or if you go to Rotten Robbie, they have all kinds of stuff you can buy. Don't go to Rotten Robbie's. Go to Arco. They have this little teeny thing to choose from, mostly sodas and candy. She doesn't eat candy, so it works for us. And so we want to be detailed. We want to be specific. And we want it to be useful information. She has lots of great days. Is nothing in that that's going to be useful or helpful, right? We need instruction. We need detail. So there's that one again. Go on. Here's another one. And a lot of people like to participate in creating their one-page description and decorate it and say, I want a Disney theme, or I want a truck theme. We have these for little babies to elderly. My mother has one in her room in the skilled nursing facility. And I even make them for my dog because my dog has a lot of health needs now. She's really old. And so before I left to go to Sacramento on Sunday, I did a little description with her picture, what people like, and then here's what good supports look like for her. So this can be used for anything. It can be used for a hospital stay to help the staff there. know who this person is, what's important to them. And then, when I take medication, I need you to put it in jelly, or don't crush my pills because then I won't swallow them because they're bitter. So there's all this little bit of information that you can provide in a snapshot. So, and then my dreams is another add-on that you could do with a one-page description. So go ahead. Here's another example, and I'm trying to show you different age groups too. So, what's important to Holly, how to support her, and what people like and admire about her, okay? And I have to show Lauren's again, right? So this is kind of a core basic one that's on our refrigerator that's laminated. We make 3 copies. One goes to her day program, one's on her refrigerator at home, and one's on my refrigerator at home. And then when she goes to new services, like she goes to San Jose State for a communication class for adults with autism, and we send that because she gets a new clinician every quarter. So the clinician has this snapshot of her. She's been going to San Jose State for 8 years for this program. Her file's like, this thick. But I usually email this to the person who's going to be working with her. It's a great place that you can start conversations, right? Oh, I used to collect American Girl dolls. Or, I see you like to buy gifts for your families and friends. You must be excited about Christmas. I hear someone, Erin's excited about Christmas. Okay, it is coming soon, way too soon. So important to her, Tuesday night dinner with Laura and Heather. Oh, you go out to dinner every Tuesday night with your girlfriends? Tell me about them. And let's make sure you have the money to go tonight. So we'll stop at the bank. Okay, so you've got all this information detailed. She likes her visits with her dad, who lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, and his name is there. Because she calls us Trudy and Martin. Because that's what everyone else calls us. So she only calls me Mom certain times. Talking to John, her boyfriend. These are things that are important to her. And then on the right, I'll just read that second line because I know it's way too tiny to try to read, is tell Lauren we'll do it together when things look difficult for her. Because sometimes when you're expected to do something and it looks too hard, what do?
Get help.
You get help. A lot of people just say, I'll do it later. That's what I do. I'm like, I'll go clean the sewers before I want to do some things, right? Anything to avoid it. And our folks who use services who feel that way, we push them. We push them to do it instead of giving them choice. But if you say, we'll do it together, there's a comfort in knowing that you're not alone in this, right? Maybe it's studying for something. Maybe it's, I remember literally cleaning the sewers while I was studying for a final in college. Because I was like, I don't want it. I'm going to fail this exam. You kind of go through all that. So having somebody to say, we'll do it together, eases you into the process. At the bottom, ask questions instead of giving instruction. Is it time for? Instead of, it's time for. And your tone can make a huge difference for people as well, right?
You mean the questions can be different?
They can be different. Yeah, you can use a lot of different questions. So we have a phenomenon in our area of support, and that is staff turnover, right? We all agree on that. We have had the same staff with my daughter in supported living, some of them for 11 years, the same people. And when we've lost people, it's because they've either moved or they've been with us 10 years and they say, it's just time for me to move on. People will come and go. But longevity is because I'm able to be successful at my work. I'm at a nonprofit too. I don't get paid a whole lot, but I love to see the results of being able to help families better support their sons and daughters and to help providers. The budget part, not so much. But you know, you want to have staff that are equipped with the skills and the information they need to be successful, and I believe if we do that, we will have longer retention. And so helping them learn these person-centered skills can make a huge difference for folks. So, and I just love this quote, okay, because people come into this work because they feel passionate about it. I want to make a difference. I want to change lives for the better. And then they get into work and they've gotten 8 hours of shadowing as their training. And then they're cut loose with somebody who has high, intense support needs, right? And no frame of reference to which they can look quickly and easily to support that person in the way they want to be supported. And that's one of the differences that person-centered planning and thinking and approaches can do for our folks, is help them have higher retention, better equipped staff, and just overall plan implementation that has meaning. So you work together as a team. This is actually one of our person-centered thinking team activities, where we have wallpaper on the board and we're looking at what's working, what's not working. We're doing the 4+1. What are we pleased about? What are we concerned about? Laundry is always on that. Somebody's always doing the laundry. I'm always got stuck with the laundry. It's just like home, right? So, and then of course my daughter contributes. So this is her list about what's working well. And I was really surprised when I read the one that said John moving in. John is her boyfriend, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, how are we going to make that happen?
Were you uncomfortable at first? Was you not quite used to your daughter moving on, having a boyfriend moving with?
Well, you know, we really support her around her boyfriend. But the moving in, it was affirmation that it was important to her and that it wasn't coming from others, because she created this list independently. She's changed her mind since then, by the way. She doesn't want him to move in anymore. And I'm like, okay, let me know when you're ready, or if you're ready. She still wants to marry him, you know, and so I said most people who are married live together, but it's not really required. I'm flexible. Yes, sir.
Very good question. Are you shocked you heard he moving in with her?
Actually, no, because he spends the night every Friday night. He comes over. They have date night every Friday night. They come home from program with that gentleman's staff, and he sleeps over. And then the BFF project was mentioned earlier. So we do that the first Thursday of every month, and he comes. So I pick them both up from their program. We go to BFF, and he comes and spends the night at my house. So when he stays at my house, it's weird. She does not want him in her bedroom. So he sleeps in the guest room, but at her house, he sleeps with her. So I'm fine with it, because my dream, my vision when she was young and doing it and fighting for inclusion was she would learn how to make relationships happen for her. It wasn't about the academics, it was about the relationships. And that someday she would find love and have a rich, full, loving life. And she's been with him for 7 years. So she's done way better than her mother. Yes.
You're okay, mother. Most mothers react badly or don't like it or something.
Most mothers, or a lot of mothers, are just afraid of their child getting hurt. That's all.
You're not like that.
Well, I'm afraid of her getting hurt. I don't want her to get hurt, because maybe he might like someone else, or, you know, maybe something will happen. That's a worry for me. But, you know, she has the right to make that choice, right? So we have to learn about that. It's hard for us as parents to shift toward that. And we have to have trust in the person who wants to be that loving person in their life. So we have to make an effort to get to know who that person is and to get to know their family. So what did Lauren get with her relationship with John? What came with that?
You slow down and give yourself a chance to know her boyfriend.
That's right. We do all holidays together. We're just like two families together. But what she got out of that relationship was a whole nother family who cares about her, right? So in honoring her preferences and desires and what was important to her, she gained so much, a whole nother family that cares about her.
Wow.
And as did he, right? So those relationships, and it could be just a friend, you know, if you make friends with new people, there's another family who cares about what happens to you. Right, Sarah?
Yeah. Not everybody's so lucky because there's some parents are controlling, and I don't get that kind of thing either. What she's getting, it's both support from both families. I don't get that.
Well, you might get that in the future, right? Everything's possible. It's just working at it. Okay? So you have to be willing to be a change target as much as you want to be a change agent. So unless you shift your beliefs as a supervisor or a director or an agency, and there's person-centered agencies, there's person-centered departments. You know, we do a one-page description for our staff, so we know how to support each other in a way that works for the person so that we're a better team. So it's not just about individuals. This can be your team, this can be your whole family, this can be the whole agency or department, however you want to make this work for you. It has been demonstrated that people are much happier, no surprise, when they're supported in a person-centered way, right? We all like that. We don't like to be criticized. We don't like to be told what to do. We like to be supported in making decisions, maybe not all the time, but you know, the majority of time if people come to say and say, you know, Laurel, how can I help you to get that done? Instead of saying, you know, you really need to get that done, then we're fixing again. We're fixing her instead of supporting her.
If you say that way, you should be bossy over that person.
Yeah, that's being bossy, right? Nobody likes to be bossed.
You would not be bossy, but you had to work it out yourself. You need help, you ask for help. If you don't need help, they don't need to ask.
Well, would it be okay if I said, you know, if you need help with that, let me know?
Correct.
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah. So you can do it in a respectful way, right?
Yes.
And you can have the choice then if you want the help
Yes.
or not want the help.
That's why I told that to Sarah many times.
Yeah.
But she would help fine. Don't ask somebody you need help, but you help fine. You don't need help, don't bother that person.
Yeah, good.
Don't be bossy, but be nice to that person.
Exactly.
You're not
Thank you
nice
for-
to that person, you lost your friendship.
That's right. Thank you for bringing that up.
And
That's
then-
important for
and fighting
everyone.
the same way.
Yes, I agree. Thank you.
And I think about all this, what you try to point out, but I agree with you, what you said. But bossy's not really good, and you're on the job, without the job, still, you're on the job, yeah, they are the boss, but you cannot use that person about, what's that word I'm looking for? The sort of H.
Harassment?
Harassing?
That's what the word I'm looking for.
Thank you, Sarah.
That's what a job, but you have no right to do that too.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Okay.
Sorry.
Lastly, is we should be preventing emotional trauma. That is looking at people as human beings and making sure that what we're doing is respectful. If they have had past traumas, considering those past traumas in their support plan and learning about trauma-informed care, which can make a big difference for people in our approaches as well. So I I'm kind of open to questions if there's time.
I think we can take a few questions. Anyone have any?
What's trauma mean?
Trauma, that
Yeah.
means when you've been hurt, either your body's been hurt or your heart, your feelings have been hurt.
Or you mean your boyfriend or girlfriend and broke up or something?
That
Or
could
got
be a
in
trauma.
fight or something?
That could be a trauma for someone.
Abuse,
Yes,
somebody
abuse can be
where
trauma.
Abuse, the death or something?
Yes,
I always hear that all the time.
yes.
Did your daughter communicate like us, or did she use a device?
She uses words, and she uses her behavior.
Oh,
Because
she-
I think everybody in this room everybody in this room ever lived with another person? Raise your hand if you've ever lived with another person. Hopefully you were a child and you lived with your parents or at least some other adult. Okay? Did they always have to use words to communicate how they were feeling about something? Did they ever use words that conflicted with their behavior? Like saying, well, what's wrong? What's wrong, Deanna? And you go, nothing. Okay, you know something's wrong, and her behavior is telling you that. It's conflicting with her words. We're going to pay attention to the behavior. So when she tells me yes sometimes, but she acts like she doesn't really want to go or do something, then I have to ask her questions. Is this really something you want to do? Should we be doing something differently? How could I help you get to this if it's really important for her health or safety?
When I saw her picture with all the people around her in that circle, I thought she would use a communication device because you can also communicate on Facebook or communication device if you don't have speech.
Yes, and she doesn't use Facebook, but she texts all the time.
Oh.
Yes.
You know, I had two things never problem with. One, my mother's got mad at me. You know, she get mad, she broke the Jesus. That's how she feels. That person did something wrong, then she will break the dishes.
She'll break dishes.
Each plate, and guess who will clean up the mess?
Uh-oh.
Guess who?
You?
Bingo! You got it.
Okay. And that's probably kind of scary for you when that
That's
happens.
not good, breaking dishes.
Yeah.
That's how her anger would be. That's
Okay.
number one. Second anger is to get mad, slamming doors.
Mm-hmm.
The slamming doors is to get mad too. That's why I tell you something, we slam doors. But I
Yeah.
don't know what that means. But dishes, I do know what that means. Slamming doors,
Yeah,
I
that must
don't understand.
be hard for you when that happens. I'm sorry that's happening for you.
I'm always hearing people mad.
Yeah.
Slamming doors.
Yes, that happens a lot.
Slamming doors. But you answer that question.
Yeah. I raised 3 girls. I know about slamming doors.
The one at the
Yeah,
picture I
they-
see now, is she the youngest or the middle or oldest?
The one in the picture is the youngest. So I have 2 older daughters as well.
Sandra, did you have a question?
Right,
Let's do
I-
one more question.
But just very quickly,
Yeah.
none of those things are applicable to my daughter because everyone works around her. However, some of the tools have been very helpful because some of the things you say about someone working with your child, well, she's 26, with your daughter and having to not have the best person, the best
Yes.
motives, work with, it's one of the reasons why I say I drill the family around. There are 3 levels of people who will make sure she has whatever she wants and not in the service. But you gave us the name of Michael SMULL.
Correct.
He has templates. Do you have any other templates? Because I think to develop that in a notebook type of way to give to my family members would be really helpful because
Oh, definitely.
she's never had, other than her one-on-one aid in high school, she's never had any other supports. Everything
Okay.
is given by her
By family.
And I thank God we can do that
Yeah.
because some of the things you say and why you have to worry about people treating your loved one in a certain way with respect would
Right.
be terrifying when you would say, I wonder how my child's
Right.
day is going, especially if they don't have the communicative skills to articulate what happened that day
Okay,
and how they treated them.
right.
So you've given us one, but I
Yeah.
think it's
Michael Small. And there's those skills, if you just Google one-page description, if you Google communication chart, learning community, or communication chart, person-centered planning, those should pop up, the templates of it. We have some links on our website to take you to a lot of those. There's another website called 100 one-page profiles so that you can look at the other ways that people have used them. Now, the one-page description is only a part of a plan. It's informational. The plan, my daughter's plan, is 32 pages. It has pictures of her doing things that she loves to do. It has about health, how to support her around health, and areas of life in each category. So we might just use the health page to take to the physician's office, okay? Or to provide to the regional center, gets the whole plan, right? They don't even have to worry about who's going to write her plan because her plan is done. And I think the more families that learn about person-centered thinking and planning, we can work together with families to get those done in a way that works. But the 32 pages is the overview of every area of life. It's also my insurance. It's better than insurance with money because people are going to support her in a way that's going to keep her out of that level 4I. It's going to keep her in living a nice standard of living in a supported way that works for her.
So I have
And-
the people, but I don't have
yeah.
the framework. And,
Yes,
like your
and
daughter,
it's
she's young and-
documenting it is peace of mind for us as family members, having that written out and having us agree with it. But it also has to have action items to be a plan. So how are we going to implement this? Now we know this is how she likes to be supported around going to the doctors. How do we do it? How do we make sure that happens? So we have to have actions associated with information for it to be a plan. And on that note, I'll just thank you. It's been a pleasure.